The Berean Pulpit welcomes you to my study from Hillsboro, Missouri. Hello, this is Brother Oates. Philippians chapter 1, verses 19 through 21. For I know that this shall turn to my salvation through your prayer and the supply of the Spirit of Jesus Christ. Verse 20, according to my earnest expectation and my hope, that in nothing I shall be ashamed, but that with all boldness as always, so now also Christ is magnified in my body, whether it be by life or by death. And that oft quoted verse 21, for me to live is Christ and to die is gain. You would think the Apostle Paul would be between a rock and a hard place, prison and execution. However, in verse 21, he says, for me to live is Christ. That's a win. And to die is, and he doesn't say loss there, he says gain, and that's a win. It was a win-win as Paul looked at his future joy. Even looking backwards, it brought joy to Paul. Philippians chapter 1 and verse number 3, I thank my God upon every remembrance of you. Verse number 5, for your fellowship in the gospel from the first day until now. And in verse number 12, it tells us that even the backward look brought him joy there. But I would ye should understand, brethren, that the things which have happened unto me, that backward look, have fallen out rather unto the furtherance of the gospel. It was not until the end of verse 18 that Paul begins to project forward. He says this, I therein do rejoice. I joy right now. Yea, and watch this, and will rejoice. There is the future joy that Paul looks at. Beginning with verse 19, he tells us some of the reasons why. In fact, in the first part of verse 19 of Philippians 1, it is a reference to Job chapter 13 and verse number 16. Paul knew the story of Job, and he knew the Bible principle that God takes care of his own, and that would bring him joy. In fact, he even mentions the word know. The Greek word oida there means without a doubt, with confidence. Paul said, for I know. And he tells us because of the Bible principle. And then he talks about the believer's prayer. Through your prayer, he says, he understood James chapter 5 and verse 16, the effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. He even had experienced the bountiful provider. It says, and the supply of the Spirit of Jesus Christ, because he had already experienced the provision, he knew it would also be there in the future, and that would bring him joy. In verse number 20, he continues and he says, that in nothing I shall be ashamed. You see, he had experienced Matthew chapter 10 and verse number 32. Whosoever therefore shall confess me before men, him will I confess also before my Father, which is in heaven. You see, Paul's joy was not in self-confidence, which is limited, but his joy was in Christ confidence, which is limitless. Bereans, search the Scriptures. God bless you.